Okay, back now with page 10. It's nighttime now. The Red Sox radio is in the background. I hope it's not too loud for you. We're working on side-by-side problems 7 and 8, both inequalities again. You'll end up doing 8. I'm going to do 7 on the left here. And once again, I've got to do some moving around to get x in one place. In this case, it's even different than anything we've seen before. There are two x's. There's 6x over here and negative 3x over here. So I'm going to end up wanting to move. I'd rather not deal with the negative, so I'd rather move the negative 3x over to this side. But first I'm going to move the 4. And to get rid of a negative 4, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Now I'm going to end up with just 6x on the left, and it becomes negative 3x plus 18 on the right. And then I move the negative 3x over. I do that by adding 3x to both sides. Now on the left side, I'm going to have 9x, and I'm just left with 18 on the right. Okay, and then I've got to divide by 9 just to get x by itself. Both sides by 9. The left is now just going to be x, as I indicate here, and the right is just going to be 2, because 18 divided by 9 is 2. I haven't done anything along the way to change the direction of the arrow, so it's x is greater than 2. So now I find the spot on my number line, and I'll rebuild this for you, because I've already indicated the answer, but I want you to see how it's done. There's 2, and x is on the open side of the arrow, so x is bigger than 2, so x is this stuff over here, and that's why I end up saying, as I have here, that I'm going to go this way with it. And the last thing to notice, as I say down here, it's an open circle instead of a closed circle here because the arrow's not underlined. X is more than 2. It's not greater than or equal to 2. And that's the end of number 7. Go ahead and do number 8. We'll move on to the next question on the page. And in this case, I'm going to do 9, you're going to do 10. This time there's only one x, but it's in between two different numbers. There are 2 arrows this time, so that's new also. Well, I got to get x by itself. I don't want that minus 5. I add it everywhere, to all 3 places, to the left of the arrows, to the middle part, and to the right of the arrows. So now I've got 3 plus 5 on the left. That's going to make 8. I've canceled out the 5's here, so I'm just left with 2x, and the right is 15 plus 5, or in other words, 20. Arrows stay in the direction they were. Now I'm going to divide by 2 to get rid of that. And on the left, 8 divided by 2 is going to turn out to be 4. This will just be x in the middle here, as I've indicated here, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. Again, haven't done anything to change the direction of the arrows. X is now going to be between 4 and 10. So, in order to graph this, well, it's already graphed there, but let me show you how I did it. I made a spot at 4, I made a spot at 10, and I realized x is between the 4 and the 10, so x is here. But it can't be to the left of 4, because it's more than 4. It can't be to the right of 10, because it's less than 10. So it can't be over here or over here. So basically what I do is just shade in between. Now the only question left is open or closed circle. Well, both are underlined. So what I've drawn here are closed circles for both. And that's how I made my drawing for number 9. You go ahead and do yours for number 10. Last 2 questions, 11 and 12. You'll do 12. I'll do 11. This is, again, different than anything I've shown you so far in this guide, in this review packet. This time I've got x's in 2 places, as I'm pointing to here and here. But I've got 2 different stories going on, 2 different inequalities. And I've got an or in the middle. That means I got 2 different inequalities to solve, 2 different problems to solve. I've got to figure out what the story is for x on the left, and I've got to figure out what the story is for x on the right. So for the left, well, it's just twice as much work, but it's the same kind of work. I'm going to move the 1, subtract 1 away, and on the right, I'm going to move the 2, add 2 to both sides. So the left, I'm just left with 5x and 5. Didn't change the arrow direction. On the right, I'm just left with negative 7x, and 12 plus 2 becomes 14. Now I'm going to divide by 5 on the left. I'm going to divide by negative 7 on the right. Dividing by 5, I'm just left with x. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. Didn't change the arrow. But on the right, I divided by -7. That will change the arrow. The left will be x, but the arrow changes direction, and 14 divided by -7 is -2. So now x is less than -2. So let's see how we graph this. I've got two different stories. X could be more than 1, or x could be less than -2. Let's think about, before I show you the graph, let's think about a situation where that could actually happen. Well, these are weird numbers. These might not make as much sense, but certainly there are lots of situations where certain age groups aren't allowed. You can be older, like this situation says, or you can be younger, like this situation says, but in between is not allowed. Well, here's a picture of something like that. You can be to the left of -2, or you can be, ooh, I've drawn this wrong. Oops, oh no, that's right, I'm sorry. Not reading carefully. X can be more than 1. Well, there's 1, and x can be more. X can be less than -2, and that's actually over here. Funny, the problem just turned out to be backwards from where it's positioned on the graph, and I got myself confused. So be careful of that. That could happen to you too. X is greater than 1 is over here. There, I'll make a mark to indicate it. There's that 1, and x is more than that, so it's that way. And x is less than -2. Well, there's that -2, and the arrow's in that direction. Both of these are open circles because neither one of these is underlined. That's the graph. That's the story for number 11. Go ahead and do number 12. That's the end of this video, and with the next video we'll move on to page 11.